Welcome to Type C Tech Reviews. Today we're going to be doing a review of the LG 24GQ50F-B. If at any point during the video you want to check out this exact same monitor, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links, but let's jump into it. All right, now right off the bat, this is a 23.8-inch screen size with a resolution of 1920 by 1080p, aka full HD 1080p resolution. Now the PPI of that is going to be between 92 and 93 pixels per inch. If you don't know what this means, this just basically means the real clarity, crispness of the display to your eyes. So depending on how close you're going to put this to your screen, I personally have this pretty close to me because I typically use 27-inch or 32-inch or 34-inch ultra wides. So I did have this closer to my face. Pixelation is noticeable. Is it insane? Is it as bad as 1080p 27-inch or 1080p 32-inch monitors? Absolutely not. This is a good PPI, especially if your rig cannot run 1440p at high refresh rates. So overall, PPI is good. A classic resolution and screen size. Now for the panel type, typically LG has only used IPS panels. They're pretty much known for their IPS panels. They've developed and put the most money into IPS panel technology, but this monitor is a VA panel. And they probably did that because this is very, very budget friendly. Now for refresh rate and variable refresh rate, this hits 165 Hertz natively, and this has FreeSync Premium. Now for screen tearing or anything like that, I had absolutely no issues at all, which is great. Now for these things, you get resolution, size, refresh rate, and variable refresh rate. Those things do incredibly well, especially at this price point. It's pretty amazing to get a monitor at this price point and be able to game at a high refresh rate. As you saw in my unboxing, if you did watch that, it's just shocking how good monitors are at these very low prices in the modern world, which is awesome. But let's move on to brightness. And this is where it does kind of, well, it starts to show its budgetness. After testing, this hit the exact advertised brightness that LG does advertise, which is 250 nits. That is not incredibly bright. And that's even really below the average. The average would be about 300 nits. But obviously at this price point, the average gets kind of a little wonky because most things are not quite as premium. So 250 nits, you're in a dim room. You're not gonna wanna use it with direct sunlight. If there are lights in the room, you're probably going to want to dim those. Now, is this a deal breaker at this price point? Probably not. However, even though the brightness is low, that's actually not my main issue with this monitor. And my main issue is the viewing angles. Now, if you don't know, VA or vertical alignment panels do have worse viewing angles than something like an IPS panel. Now, unlike a TN panel that will kind of go all blue or green, these just wash out. Now, from the sides, the left and the right sides, and even going down and looking up at the panel, those aren't as extreme with the viewing angles, but going over top and looking down on it, that starts to get extreme washing out at certain angles. So you really do want to position it perfectly with looking down on it. So you really want to be kind of straight on. Now, this doesn't seem like it would be that big of an issue. However, because there's no height adjustable stand, it is kind of an issue. So with this monitor specifically, I would recommend getting maybe a monitor arm, which again would not be too expensive because this is a fairly small and light monitor. So you could probably get away with a $25 or $30 monitor arm. This is probably not a deal breaker. It could be, however, it is definitely something to note. As for HDR, this has no HDR at all. There's no HDR, so well, what do you expect at this price point? All right, now the colors. There's a couple of interesting things here. Firstly, this advertises a coverage of 92% of the NTSC color space, which is about 100% of the sRGB color space, which is good, especially at this price point. After testing, this achieved 69% of the NTSC color space, 97% of the sRGB color space, and 73% of the Adobe RGB color space. Now, for the price point, that's actually not too bad. What is bad is the accuracy out of the box, which was bad. It was pretty bad. The white tones were horribly cool. It was not a good thing. This was to the point where after basically 2 days of lightly using this, after 2 days during the review process, I had to calibrate this monitor. It was not good. Now in game, it is less noticeable, but still noticeable to me. So if all you're doing is gaming, this may not be as big of an issue as you would think. However, after calibration, the experience of gaming is significantly better. Now, desktop use is where this really bugged me. This may be because I'm so used to seeing Windows specifically in the colorway that I know, right? More accurate. However, this was not at all of that. You could play around with the different color settings, and I did quite a bit, and I changed the warm tones and stuff like that, but it was never really correct until after I calibrated it, and after that, it was quite good. But this brings up an issue that, well, not everyone has a color calibration tool, and many of them cost more than this monitor cost to buy. All right, now for the contrast ratio. This hits a 3,000 to 1 contrast ratio, and this is typical for VA panels. This means your blacks are gonna be nice, deep, and black, and this is the biggest pro over an IPS panel. That being said, even though this does have significantly deeper blacks than an IPS panel, it is less awe-inspiring because of the lower overall brightness. That being said, night scenes, stuff like that, if you're gaming in a dark room, it is going to look very good. Now, as for backlight bleed, my monitor had absolutely none. That being said, this does have a single dead pixel, which is very interesting because I've never ever experienced that on any LG monitor before, except this one. So kind of do look at your panel and make sure to get a replacement if you do end up buying this and you do have a dead pixel. So that is something to know. Now, I know this probably sounds like I am hating on this monitor, but I do think it's a good monitor overall. And wait till the price and value section right at the end of the video, because this could actually be a good buy. Okay, now let's talk about response time and ghosting. This hits a 5 millisecond gray to gray response time, but how does that translate into ghosting? Well, it's actually very good. And for the price point, and being a VA panel, this may be one of the best ever. LG has historically had some of the best ghosting tuning, like in monitors in general. No one tunes for ghosting better than LG as a brand. Now, in the fastest response time setting, just doing the tests, the isolated tests, it's not noticeable that there's really any ghosting. It does look a little bit weird because they definitely tuned the heck out of this monitor to give you the smallest amount of ghosting, but that kind of goes inverse ghosting and ghosting at the same time, but less for both of them. However, even though in testing the fastest response time setting looks great, in real world practice, in actual gaming, it does not look that good. There's a whole lot of weird stuff going on because of the tuning. And in the second to fastest response time setting, a lot of this is, well, not there anymore. So the second to fastest response time setting is the best one to set it in. That's the one I left it in most of the time. And honestly, for the price point and being a VA panel, this ghosting is unbelievably low. Now, it does seem like there's a little bit of ghosting and then a little bit of inverse ghosting. So if you're really prone to noticing this, you're probably not going to want this. However, you probably won't want any VA panel if you're really prone to seeing any sort of ghosting or anything like that. But if you're in this price point, you're probably not like that. And for ghosting, this is incredibly low. So for fast-paced games, this is actually great. And the common theme you'll see here is that the gaming performance on this is very, very good for the price point. However, some other things kind of lack, and let's talk about that now, which is the menu system and controls, which you're like, wait a second. If you guys have followed me for any amount of time, you'll have known that I absolutely love the LG menu system. It is the best in the industry, hands down, both the controls, the ergonomics, and the menu system itself. This one downgrades across the board. So how it's controlled is with a single joystick like every other LG monitor. However, this joystick, it's just not the same as the rest of them. It's a little bit more plasticky feeling. It's a little bit harder to move around. Doesn't feel quite as premium. It's definitely nitpicking. However, the menu system is also downgraded. Not only does it not have those cool animations like all the new GQ series, except this one, but it's also a little bit slower to respond, and it's just washed out. The colors are not as vibrant. And so overall, it just feels like, what's the point in downgrading for this monitor? I guess people want a reason to upgrade to the much more expensive GQ 950 and 850 and probably the upcoming other series, but still, it just felt a little bit weird. Now, as for Vesa compatibility, this would be fantastic to mount. It's incredibly light at 6.6 pounds without the stand, and it has a 75mm by 75mm Vesa mount. Not 100mm, which I would have preferred, but really not a big deal. Basically, all the monitor arms out there do also accept 100 and 75mm. So, all right, now stand and build quality. They actually do a lot of things right here. The stand, even though it's not a premium height adjustable one, it still feels well made. It still feels like LG. There's plastic on the outside, metal on the inside. The back of the monitor and the overall construction feels very well built. Much better than the last generation series. Even though that was good, this is just more on par with something like Dell Alienware. However, this only has tilt adjustability, which is definitely a con and probably a big reason why you should get a monitor arm and mount this. Okay, but now probably the most important section of the entire video, price and value. Now for a price tag of $190, That's a lot of refresh rate. That's a lot of low ghosting. That's a lot of gaming performance for a very small amount of money. I do also want to say, I bought this on Amazon for around 140 bucks. So this was on sale and this just recently came out. So I'm expecting this to go on sale again. And that is going to play into the price and value section. At 190 bucks, do I think this is worth it? Probably not. And not just because I don't think it's worth it, but because there's a better monitor, which is LG's 24GN650. This is an older monitor, but they still have not come out with anything that beats this, and it's still sold brand new on Amazon. I'll also link that below. Now that monitor is currently listed for $226.99 and has an MSRP price tag of 250 bucks. However, this has almost double the brightness, even better gaming performance across the board, and an IPS panel with very accurate colors out of the box, especially when compared to this. So that's a whole lot of upgrades for only, at the time of filming, only like 37 bucks more. So if right now you're considering this monitor at 190 bucks, don't get it. Get the 24GN650. That being said, if this drops again down to 140 bucks, maybe during Black Friday or around Christmas time or Amazon Prime Day, whatever, if it drops down to 140 bucks, I just don't see a world where this wouldn't be worth it for the amount of gaming performance. And 140 bucks is almost insane. So there we go. Overall, do I recommend this? If it's on sale, absolutely. If it's not on sale, go with the LG 24GN650, which is still my most recommended 24-inch gaming monitor. Again, if you want to check out either of these monitors, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links. I feel like this is a little bit of a faster, shorter review. There wasn't a whole lot going on with this monitor. Overall, it's a great monitor at that price point, but it's just beat by LG's own monitor, which is so funny. They have their own monitors competing against themselves, but if this one's on sale, it's a great buy. All right, this was Type C Tech Reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next video.